Mick Ryan is a retired military general in the Australian Army, non-resident fellow of the Lowy Institute and the Washington-based Centre for Strategic and International Studies. Mick Ryan, firstly, this attack on an apartment building in Belgorod, Russian media is claiming this was due to a missile launched by Ukraine and shot down by Russia. People have been killed and injured, and both Ukraine and Russia say they don't target civilians. What do we know of this attack?
Well, I think, first of all, we don't even know that it's an attack. All we know is an apartment building has collapsed in Belgorod. And the Russians have been wonderful in the last 27 months about making up all kinds of stories. The Ukrainians throughout this war have not targeted civilian facilities like this. So I think we need to give them the benefit of the doubt before we believe the Russian propaganda here.
Belgorod is near the border with Ukraine's northeastern Kharkiv region. There has been heavy fighting there. Russia claims it's driving Ukrainian forces out of villages. What do we know?
Well, at this point in time, the Russians are advancing mainly with light infantry on two axes north of Kharkiv. They've been able to advance several kilometres inside Ukraine, largely because Ukrainians didn't have defensive positions right on the border. They were set well back from the border. The Ukrainians are using artillery and drones to respond. The Russians are taking ground, but they're also taking a lot of casualties. In the meantime, the Ukrainians are rushing reserves to the area to stem the tide.
So has this come as a shock, or was it expected?
No, this has been expected for some time now. Indeed, the Ukrainian deputy head of military intelligence, in an interview with The Economist just a few weeks ago, forecast that exactly this kind of scenario might occur. He said that May would probably be one of the grimmest months for Ukraine. But what it does do, even if they did forecast it, it puts further pressure on Ukrainian forces fighting on the ground.
And why this region for Russia's strategy?
Well, there's a couple of reasons for Kharkiv. Firstly, it's away from a lot of the other battles that are occurring in the east. So what it does is force the Ukrainians into a dilemma about where they deploy more ground forces. Is it to cope with Russian attacks in the east or to redeploy them in the northeast? So that's difficult for them. Same with air defences. It puts the Ukrainians in a greater dilemma. But back in March, Putin did forecast that he wanted to set up a buffer zone inside Ukraine for various reasons, and he could well be using this operation to establish this buffer zone.
Finally, a reshuffle in Russia's defence and security portfolios as Putin starts his fifth presidential term. Are these significant changes?
Yeah, these are pretty significant. Shoigu has been in that position since 2012 alongside General Gerasimov, who at this point remains as the commander-in-chief. That could change shortly, though. Early in the war, Shoigu was object of derision. But over the last year or so, given the improvements in the Russian position and the momentum they've generated in the last few months, he's probably remediated himself with the president. He's also very loyal to Putin, so he will continue to do okay under President Putin.
Mick Ryan, non-resident fellow of the Lowy Institute and the Washington-based Centre for Strategic and International Studies. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's great to be with you.